Hey guys, this is Stella by Design. Just going to show you right now. I'm just here. You're gonna see me sewing. I'm basically, can you see me here? Yeah, I'm just basically running this. This is dental floss. This is how I'm gonna make my pleats, which is another method for making pleats for my bonnets. So here we go. And I'm just, as you can see, I'm just sewing here my bonnets. I'm gonna have you, let's see, I guess you have to see me like this, okay. You're gonna see me like that. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna see me just sewing here. I don't think that works either. So what's going on here, I'm just sewing the actual pleats using dental floss. I've got one, I'm about 5/8 of an inch. I'm just sewing the dental floss, which makes it easier for me to pull that string, to pull the dental floss. This is dental floss right here, okay? So what it's gonna do is I'm just showing you how I make my bonnets with the dental floss. This is making the pleats for my bonnets. I'm trying to make this as fast as possible because I have an appointment in a moment. I love the way the dental floss makes it so easy for me to pull that string when I'm finished. So what I've done is I'm doing a zigzag over the dental floss. I'm doing a zigzag over the dental floss. It's a full zigzag. I should be finished in a moment. And then what I'm going to do after that, I'm going to, after I've done that, I'm going to gather the stitches. This method I found, I don't know, probably on the internet. And I want to make sure people can see what I'm doing. It's really, really technical, but it works. What we're going to do is going to pull that thread after. We're going to pull it and form a casing for the band of the actual, the band of the bonnet. See how easy that is? I've done it around 5/8, a little bit more than 1 inch, but I just want to show you how easy it is to do that. So again, just sew it on top the floss. This is dental floss, see? Very thin in capacity. So what I'm going to do is after that, I'm going to pull the dental floss into a casing. Oh, it's taking a long time though, because we're gathering the fabric. And then I'm going to sew a lovely band around the perimeter of the, this is this will fit if you have dreads, Rastafari, if you have long hair. This is going to be a satin bonnet. This is 100% satin that's being used here. We use satin. Oh God, looks as if I ran out. Okay, let's see what's going on here. It looks as if I have to open up this contraption. I'm going to have to tie this contraption. What has happened is the actual dental floss has broken. So So what I'm going to do is tie that like that. I'm going to pull out as much as I can in the dental floss department. Make sure it comes up to where it's supposed to come. Wow. Okay. So now I have my scissors. I'm going to cut the dental floss. Make sure it stays. How you doing? I know you can't see me clearly, but you have an idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring this a little bit closer so that way you can really be up on top of me and see what I'm doing. So we're going to continue. We don't want to make this an all-day event because it takes a lot of work to make a bonnet. So let's do this very quickly. So what we're doing, as I said, we're bringing the dental floss all the way around. All the way around. And okay, it's broken again. It's okay. We're doing a good job here. I'm just going to tie it 2 times. 1, 2. 1. And 1 more time. Because what has happened, the dental floss in the container has come apart. So what we're going to do is, I know this is very different. This dental floss idea is a very interesting concept, but it works. So I want to make sure you guys see what I'm doing, okay? So I'm going to tie this 1 more time. I've tied it twice already. Tie it 1 more time. And then let it go, let it go. We can't just spend time sewing a dental floss. Get out of here. It's not doing it, not doing it. Waste my time. So what we're going to do, cut the excess of the dental floss. Cut it out. And then cut it out. Everything is attention to detail. And we have to be very careful. So let's do this again. What has happened? The dental floss was separating, but we have now tied a piece of the dental floss to the other side. We're going to make this as fast as possible because we have no time to waste. We have no time to waste. It's a lot of time. This is time consuming, but we have no time to waste. As a designer and a sewer, we don't spend most of our time. We spend a little of our time sewing, and we want to design. So this method of making bonnets is very practical, and I'm going to also show you how to make some do-rags. And I'm just finishing off here, and then we're going to tie. Once we finish off, we're going to measure the circumference of our head, and we're going to make another bonnet with the, we're going to take the actual circumference of our head to make the actual the wrap around the head. So we've come to the end of our journey. We're going to take a long string here. We're going to make it long. We're going to cut that off. We have come to the end of our journey. What does that mean? I'm going to give you an idea of what it looks like, okay? So this is what little with string. We make sure that string is nice and long. Make sure our machine is always well situated when it comes to the bottom and the bottom of the thread and the top of the thread has to be in sync. So this is about how much I'm going to leave out in the thread. So now that we've got the two together, we're going to pull this as far as we can. We're going to go along very gently, very gently. We're moving the gathers along. We're going to measure it to the circumference of our head. Now, I would like this to fit a regular person. My head is a little bit smaller, so I'm going to make this band a little bit bigger. So what I'm doing, I'm pulling the thread all the way down. I've held one end, and I'm going to go all the way down and gather this with the dental floss. This is what I used to actually make my bonnet. I'm gonna let it sit right there because it's so, I feel so cool that I gain experience by watching videos, and I learn every day a better way of doing something, you know? So this is a very nice method. We're going to, as I said, I'm pulling the thread right now. I'm going to now take a pin and I'm going to hold the one end of the thread. I'm going to hold it by doing this method, which is we're tying it around. We don't, it's everything is very, very temperamental, eh? Like very careful, be very gentle. It's so important to be gentle with your fabric, gentle with your thing. What I've done here is just secured the dental floss to the one side, and then I'm going to continue all the way along. So let's do that. So now, as I said, the longest thread part of the dental floss, I'm just pulling it along nicely. Oh, it feels so good to take your time and enjoy the work that you do. We can't just sew and not enjoy the work that we're doing. Look at how nice that pleat is. Oh, sewing is so rewarding. So rewarding. Okay, now a bit of a snag there. So what I'm going to do is just continue. Take my pin here. So what we're going to have is 2 pins at the end. And now we're going to start to bring our ruffles together. So we've secured the 2 ends. And now we move the ruffles into a space. We're going to measure the actual band. Make sure that band is nice and flexible. And the band has to be equal to the circumference of your head. So I'm going to make mine bigger because people don't have small heads like me. Most people have big heads. That's what they always say. People with big heads have big goals and stuff like that. But so this is going to be lovely, lovely, lovely. It's going to be I'm going to make it bigger than my head. So I'm going to measure in a minute with my tape line. I'm going to measure in a minute. I do a lot of talking, but it's because I want you guys to get an idea of what I'm doing. When there's a bit of a snag, you take your seam ripper and you go in there, because I can see there's a bit of a snag here. So what's happened is we're not able to move the dental floss as freely. So instead of cutting the dental floss, we cut the thread and make sure that dental floss is able to move freely. So here we go again. We're pulling the thread of the dental floss. We're pulling the dental floss. Oh Lord. Yep, so good. We have a little bit of more freedom. See, in this case, we have the thread and the dental floss is holding on to each other. So let's smooth this a little bit. See, we have another situation here where the dental floss is snagging. So we have to let's see, we take the wherever there's a bit of a snag, because what has happened is the dental floss has a bit of a snag. We're going to cut that thread and keep it moving. Lord have mercy, why is it snagging like that? Okay, it looks as if there's a snag here too. Okay, so Bit of a snag, so what we have to do is go in with our seam ripper. Go in with a seam ripper. Be careful we don't actually cut the dental floss. So let's see what's going on here. Bit of a snag, so that means the actual dental floss is being hindered by, so let's see what's going on here. Yeah, again, it's not moving as freely, so we have to go in there, in the back here, and cut the thread. Not the dental floss, but the thread. Let's see what's going on here. The games that people play. Why is this snagging and snagging? Oh, because it's right here. So we go to the back where there's problems and we cut it. Oh my God, Lord. Okay. Whew. Dental floss is very, very, very thin, so we have to be very careful. So what has happened there, the dental floss has actually burst. That's okay, we're just going to tie it, and we're going to bring on our we're going to do our own method of pulling the thread. We've connected that together. We're going to keep on pulling the thread. We're going to keep on pulling the thread. Even though that happened there, we can still pull the thread. See? You can say, oh Lord, have mercy. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to keep on pulling the thread. Okay. So we're going to measure in a minute. We're going to measure in a minute the diameter of our head. In this case, we want to make it a little bit wider than my head because I have a small head. See, we had a bit of a problem there, eh? It kind of nicked and it broke. But that doesn't stop us from completing the task, okay? We're trying to complete the task. We have thread on this side too. We're trying to complete the task. What is the task? The task is to ruffle this as much as we can. Then we're going to tie a nice band around that, make it nice and pretty. Okay, so let's do that. So we've got the two strings nicely. We're going to measure now how big our head is. Our head is 25. I'm going to make it 20. 25 is mine. Remember, it's going all the way down there, so you have to be careful. So that's 26. So I'm going to make it 25. Make it 25. So this piece here, I think I'm going to use the purple. It's 25. Let's see, we're going to use 25. 25. 25. 25. This is too small. So it's going to be 25. I'll make one with that and one with that. So 25. So let's do this. 25. Which is about here. We take the scissors and we cut 25. I'm cutting the band. Can you see? I'm cutting the band in half. So we make a lovely, yep, I'm cutting in half. So this is going to form the perimeter of the head. So we've checked, because the band is very stretchy, the person who's wearing this could take her needle and thread, and she can make it smaller if it's too big. We remove the top part. This is what our band is going to look like, okay? This is going to sew around here, around the bonnet, okay? So let's begin. Let the games begin. So what we're going to do now, this is what it looks like. Take a gander. Take a look. Okay? A lot of work. I'm going to move that along. We're going to measure it till 25. It really should be 24, but as I said, I've got a smaller head. Somebody else might say it's too tiny for them. whatever. It's a sample. You can make it bigger, smaller, make it how big you want, okay? So we're going to put it down to 25. So here we go. That's the measurements there. And take my tape line now and make sure it's 12 and 12 on both sides. So, nope. So we still have to take out 1, 2, 3, 4 inches to make it 25. Because 12 and 12 is 24. And we want it at 25. What I've done is I've measured the back of my head and the forward of my head. So that's how I got that measurement. This one should be finished by 12:30. I'm not spending a whole day making bonnets. No way. No way, Jose. No way, Jose. Even out those pleats. Even it out. Even it out. Even over here with a little bit of a situation, we even out. Even out. So we even it out. Even it out. Yep. I'm going to take my tape line again and measure it. Measure it. Okay. Okay, this is fine. Because there was a break in the actual gathering, we had to re-knot the actual stuff. So, well, 15 and 15 is 30. Well, we got to get it to 25. So we're down. You have to get down to another 3. Take it down a little bit more. 2, 3. Let's cut off any excess threads. Cut it off. Let's get this down to 25, okay? Trying to get it down to 25. So we have to pull that, we have to pull it to get it to 25. Even it out, even it nice and even. We're evening the fabric, making it nice and comfortable for the hairline. Evening out the fabric for the hairline. Okay, let's see if we're getting there, because this is a lot of energy to measure this out. Still 15, so I need to get it down to 12. So let's move this along. Let's move this along. Force it down to 12. Let's get it down to 12. Your plates don't have to be too perfect, okay? Don't think that you have to have it too perfect, okay? Once it's meeting the requirement of the band. So let's do this again. Measure it. 14. Even out those pleats, even it out, even it out. Take the other side and even it out, even it out, even it out. Oh my God. It takes a long time, but it's okay. So what we have here is a bit of a glitch in the thread. So what we're going to do is, again, we take our thing without breaking without touching the dental floss. This method is good, but then it is very temperamental. You have to be very careful. So we're going to cut where the thread is there so we can move it along. We want to keep moving along. So let's move it along. Let's move it along. Oh my God. Why is it snagging every 2 minutes? Because there's something going on here. Okay. What happens sometimes too, we've sewn on top of the dental floss, picked up the dental floss in the sewing. So that's why you're seeing we're having problems here. So we need to cut that out. We've actually pulled, the dental floss has been sewn into, so that's what we're having a problem there for. So we're trying to get this to 24. 24 inches is the diameter of the circumference of your head. 24. That's the best we can do, it looks like. So let me just go and measure this again. What are we looking for? 24. Good. We're at 24. We're now going to make sure all this is even all the way along. Open up the fabric. Now this is the wrong side and this is the right side. So on the wrong side, we're going to have the fabric. We have everything on the wrong side. Okay. Everything on the wrong. We're going to even out those stitches. Even out the ruffles. The actual, yeah, even it out. Make sure it lies nice and flat. Yeah, we need to have it nice and flat. Okay. Nice and flat. Okay. All the ruffles have to be nice and flat. Okay. I'm going to take the tape line again. Make sure it's within our measurements. Both. Okay, let's see. I have to get to 12 right there. I have to come in a little bit more. Okay, so 12. Want everything nice and flat. Okay, so we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Okay, so we did our best. Nice and flat. Nice and, yep, move move it nice and flat, nice and flat, nice and flat. To 24 inches, 24. Okay, so now we got that. We take our fabric that we're going to be using. So what do we have? 24. It's 24 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the actual fabric first. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. So we're going to attach this first. And then what we're going to do, when we attach it, we're going to attach it to the band, to the actual bonnet, okay? I'm going to sew very close to the edge because that's the way I like to do it. I'm going to zigzag first. Because I find that really works well. When you zigzag first, then you do a seam allowance. So that's where you're actually going to stop the fabric from raveling. What did I say? See that? That stops the fabric from raveling down the road. And matter of fact, once we've done that, we don't even have to sew another seam. We're going to now go to the back of our bonnet where we actually have the two threads. Pull them together. Oh, look at that, it broke again. It broke again. You see why it broke? Because I'm not gentle. This is where we get our pins out now. I'm going to pin the circumference of the band to where the actual pleats are. Take your time, pull in the ruffles along the way, the gathers along the way, and we're going to pin that. And then we're going to pin it all the way around, all the way to the edge of the actual gathers. That's what we're going to do. Pin it all the way around. And when we sew now, we keep in we keep in touch with the gathers. We keep very careful with the gathers. And we're going to keep that in mind when we're sewing. So let's unroll the actual fabric, holding on to the actual gathers. In this particular case, this is going to be tinier than the actual, what I'm saying is that this band is going to be fitting very around the circumference of the, so we're pulling this in like that. When we sew it, we won't have any problems. What are we doing? We're taking the gathered fabric of the satin, and we're bringing it into the, there's so many different ways to do this on the internet, but it's very confusing when you don't even understand what the person is saying. So I just do my own thing. I'm tired. I've done maybe over 7 to 8 bandana bonnets, and I'm learning the hard way, but I'm learning how to do it to make it look presentable. This fabric here that I'm making the band with is kind of roly-poly. It rolls a bit. So what I'm doing is I have to unroll as I go along to show the true. And then when we see all this excess, we cut it off, because it's going to help. It's going to give us a hard time when it comes to sewing, when you have this excess fabric flying up and down. We roll out. See, I'm rolling out the actual band, a headband. This is called a headband. I'm rolling it out. Make sure it's even all the way around. Okay, all the way around. Make sure it's even. We come to the end of our rope here, just going to tie the two dental flosses together and pull as much in as possible to continue making the pleats. So what we're going to do is go in as much as possible. In the end, we're going to cut that dental floss off. But right now we have a lot of extra fabric here, and we have to play with that. So here we go. Remember, I measured it to the diameter. I've measured it to my head frame. Some people have bigger heads than me, but I've measured it to my head frame. In a situation like this where we got more fabric than we have, I'm going to pull as much as I can. And then just try my best to attach the gathers. And it looks as if I'm going to have to sew on the gather side. That way I won't mess up, because the gathers is not synchronizing here. I've got more gathers than I have fabric. I'm going to have a band, so we're going to have to see how we're going to do this. So right now I'm going to start sewing because I have to start sewing. And as I said, I'm going to sew on the gather side. The reason why we sew on the gather side is because we've got more gathers fabric than we have actual band, so I want to make sure the gathers are secured. So I'm going to start anywhere, doesn't matter where I start, but I really should start where I start. I'm going to start here. I'm going to start, and as I said, I'm going to sew on the gather side. We're going to cut up all these extra threads. I'm going to cut up because it really gives you a hard time. So we're going to have this as flat as possible. pull out the needle, we pull out the pins when we can. Okay, so here we go. Cut out all the excess. First of all, cut out all the excess. It's gonna give us a hard time for sewing. As we sew, we pull out the pins. Here we go. Straight stitch all the way around. Here we go. Pull out all the pins, put them back in the pin holder. We're sewing on the side of the gathers. That way we see the gathers go flat. You're going to see the gathers go flat onto the band. The band is already straight, so we know the band is okay. It's just the gathers. So being we have problems here, we're going to sew over the gathers. This is the best way to do it because that way we know how much gathers we have and how much band we have. And the band and the gathers have to sit on top of each other. I'm going to zigzag over this afterwards too to make sure the band is nice and flat. In this case, as I said, we've got more band than we have, more fabric than we have band. So we have to make sure the ruffles are sitting nice and flat. Everything else should fall into place. Okay? Do not underestimate your potential. Put it nice and flat against the band. Nice and flat against the band. Being my head is small, this is why I'm having a problem. I have a small head. But everything's going to walk out in the wash because we're not going to let anything get us down, okay? Nothing's going to get us down. We're going to do this nice and flat against. We're going to pull out the pins as we pull out the pins as we go along, but we're doing it nice and flat. We're coming to our tension. Make sure the tension is there. So nice and flat. So nice and flat against the bonnet head wrap. Nice and flat. We're pulling out all the pins as we go along. Nice and flat. Make sure you go inside and make sure the raveled bonnet is not falling into the stitching line. So you have to go nice and flat. Nice and flat. Nice and flat. So now we're going to cut off all the excess. All the excess, we cut it out because that hinders us from doing the actual sewing. So nice and flat. As you can see, we've got lots of fabric here. Lots of fabric to make our bonnets. Our bonnet's going to be nice and flat. What the hell's going on here now? Come on now. See? We have a bit of a problem now. So we need to pull out the fabric. Make sure it's even on the top of the band. Put down the pressure foot and start sewing. We're nearly there, guys. Nearly there. We're nearly there. Nice and flat. We have to sew it nice and flat on top of the band. We pull out all the pins as we go along. We pull out all the pins. I just pinned myself a minute ago there. We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. Nice and flat. What are we doing? We're sewing the band to the bonnet. It's going to take a little while, but we're doing it properly. We're holding the bonnet accountable to the band. We're flattening the bonnet as we go along, pulling out all the pins. And what are we doing? Nice and flat. There's our pin cushion. We're going to go across. I just found out one of my co-people have just had an operation, so I have to be very careful not to upset the person because they just had an operation. So that's how we do it, even when we're working with fabric like this, nice and flat. We're nearly there. We've done our best. Any kind of threads or excess threads, put them to the side. Do not let them bother you. All this is excess thread. Cut it off and put it to the side. Okay, put your scissors to the side and make sure everything is nice and flat. Put your pressure foot down and start sewing. Again, everything's nice and flat. Everything is nice and flat. We're nearly there. We're nearly to the finish line. Any kind of thread you see hanging out, you make sure you cut it right away. This is a nice brown thread that was at the bottom, so we take it and we snip it away right away. What are we doing? We're doing things nice and flat. We're sewing over the ruffles nice and flat. We've come to the end of our journey. We've opened up. Make sure this is nice and opened up evenly. Remember, my diameter of my hair is 24. Sometimes people go a little bit less, but I can't do that because my brain is telling me that's your measurements, stick to it. Okay, we've come to the end of our journey. We pull out the thread right there. We pull out. We cut excess. We take all the pins out. We put them in the pin cushion. This is what it looks like. Okay? This is what it looks like. We can even, if we really wanted to make this nice and neat, we could even sew like that, but we're not doing all that. It doesn't make any sense. It's a lot of work. So this is what it looks like. Take a gander. I still don't really appreciate all this excess thread, so I'm going to go along and cut off the excess thread. Because when I start sewing the rest of the band, because I'm going to now overlap the band, all this excess is going to give us a hard time for washing, because when we want to wash our bonnet, we don't want it to fray. So this is all the area where it's frayed. This is the actual floss. We're going to cut that off in the end, but right now we just put it to the side. We take it to the side, we go all the way around. Any excess, this is all excess. Really, I should do a zigzag on top of this, which I think I will do. That way it keeps it in place, and when you go to wash this, you're not going to have a problem. So I think I'm going to actually zigzag on top where we've made the pleats. That way, oh, we don't have to do that. So it's just a lot of more extra work. We don't have a lot of time for that. It's extra work, extra work. This will be selling for 25 to 30 bucks a pop. So now we're going to, I really don't want to get rid of this floss. So I'm going to try to tie it and then sew it inside of the actual band. Then it's time to get on the road. On the road again. So now we're going to cut this off, the excess. We cut off the excess floss. Put that to the side. So that goes over here. So what we have is this. We're now going to open up. This is what it looks like. I'll show you what the outside looks like in a minute. We're going to lay this flat. And I have an impression that I'm going to do this by hand, because when you do it by hand, it's going to look much nicer. Yeah, I could sew it. No, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Now, we still now have to pin. Now this is the front side, this is the back side. So what we're going to do now is make a nice little fold all the way around, and we're going to pin back the back side of the actual bonnet. Pin it all the way around, because this is going to be an encasing for the frills. Once we sew this, it will be finished, and that'll be our second bonnet within the last few days. We're pinning this all the way around where the ruffle is. Where the ruffle meets the band is where we're pinning all the way around, because we're going to hand sew that. Or we can sew it on the machine. Depends on how I feel. I rather hand sew it because it makes me realize that I can take in the actual band and feel comfortable that it's been sewn properly, and that I won't have any problems with it raveling out. So we have to, the reason why I would like to do it by hand, it secures that I'm going to have a nice band around the head, and that I can actually see my production, see my results. When I do it by hand, I see my results. So with pulling out the actual band to its length, to its most ability, all the way around. This is going to be encasing. We're encasing the actual bonnet headband. We're going to make this fancy. Might even put a bow on it. Just to make it a little bit fancy, we're going to put a bow on it. So I'm going to try to finish 2 of these this morning, and then head out for my appointment. So what am I doing here? I'm actually encompassing the band's perimeter of the bonnet. This is where your head meets the bonnet. I'm opening up the actual bonnets, the actual headband. I'm pinning it to the bonnet all the way around. Open up the headband, pull out the fabric, and bring in the gathers inside the headband. All the way around, we're opening up the headband around the bonnet. As you can see, that's what we're doing. Our pins are nearly finished. I don't know why I think this is more comfortable, but it is. It is a much more comfortable when you open up a headband as opposed to elastic. This can be put on and off. When you're sleeping at night, the elastic, people are complaining that they don't like the elastic. So that's why I've done the headband. I've opened up the actual headband. And here we go. Pull out any extra thread. I think I'm going to do another one before I leave. So that way I've accomplished 2 headbands, and when I come back I'm just going to do some, I'm not even going to make any of those men's thing. I'm just going to buy a whole bunch and then sell it, because it doesn't make sense. At least they have an idea that I can do a do-rag. So this is a bonnet for a lady, and the do-rag is for the males, okay? Bonnet for the ladies, do-rags for the males. So we've pinned that all the way around. Now we're going to open up, make sure everything is nicely flat. See, this has to be flat. I really don't like what's going on here, so I remove the pin very easily. You remove your pins and you make sure things are flat. See, this has to be flat. It's not flat. That means I've done something wrong. Okay, let the games begin. Open this up. Make sure it's nice and flat. As I said, I'm going to sew it by hand. That way I know my product is really good. That I've done a good job on presenting my product. I've done a good job because I've done everything by hand. And this is a handmade bonnet. Bonnets are used, satin bonnets are used around the world to keep your hair nice, and especially if you've got curly hair, it's there to keep your hair in place while you're sleeping. Sometimes a person's going to an event, a birthday party, a wedding, and they want their hair to look immaculate. And while you're sleeping, you're noticing certain things. So this will help while you're sleeping. Also, it's good for your face. It's good for your face and keeps your hair from not drying out. So we pull in make sure all the gathers are put inside. We pin all the way around. Now I'm going to turn this inside out. See what we have here. This is what we have. Okay, so I'm going to sew this. I'm not going to do it today. All I have to do now is sew this, and it's ready for tomorrow. Okay, so this is lovely. Very nice. Very nice. So this is what it looks like. This is the back where the seam is, and then this is the front. I'm thinking of putting a nice bow, or I'm going to put not if I'm going to put a bow, I'm going to put a nice button or something, just to give it some kind of oomph. Okay, so all we have to do with this now is sew the band inside to the satin. And that's how big it's going to be. See how nice that is? And this is going to fit a regular size head with a person who has long hair similar to this. And it's going to keep it moist at night. The satin is the fabric that we're dealing with. And this is what makes us feel good about our hair and our face. Okay? Stella by Design. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon. Stella by Design.